As we have just discussed, the amount for compound interest is A is equal to P into 1 plus R the whole raised to T. And this is for compounded annually. I'll just write CA. Now, what if you're compounding at another period? You've learned formula in school. So for example, A is equal to, so we're talking about compounding every 6 months. The formula you might have learned in school is P into 1 plus R by 2, the whole raised to 2t. Actually, what you've seen is P into 1 plus R by 200 raised to t, but we have already discussed this, the way that we are defining t. The way that we are defining R, we don't need the 100. So this is the formula you have learned in school, and the way that we are modifying it with our change in convention. And if it's compounded every 2 years, it's gonna be A is equal to P into 1 plus 2R the whole raised to T by 2. Now, uh, learning this formula without understanding it will really land you in trouble. And I can give you an example. Let's just look at what is actually happening. Let's say I have a principal of 1000 rupees and I have a rate of 10% per annum compounded 2 years. That means the the interest gets added back to the principal only after 2 years. So in the first year, I am getting 10% of 1000, and in the second year, I'm again getting 10% of 1000, which is basically 100 plus 100, 200. It's only after 2 years that this 200 gets added back to the principal, and so you have the principal for the third year is 1200, and the interest for the third year is then going to be 10% of that, which is 120. And so you're going to get an amount at the end of 3 years as 1320. And let's just say that this is what I'm interested in finding, the amount at the end of 3 years. If you directly plug these numbers into the formula, what you're going to get is 1000. 2R is going to be 2 into 0.1, so 0.2. 1 plus 0.2 is 1.2. What was the T? T was 3 years. T is equal to 3 years. If you plug this into the formula, you will be raising 1.2 to the power 1.5, and this would be absolutely wrong. This is what the formula tells you to do, but this is not how it works in reality. What you want to look at instead is my principal gets increased by 10% and then again by 10%, but it's again the 10% of the 1000 itself. So you can combine these two steps as plus 20%. 10% of 1000 and then again 10% of 1000, so that's 20% of 1000. And then you get the new principal, which is 1.2p. And this 1.2p gets increased by 10%. Right? So what's happening here essentially is you have a compounded every 2 years. You have a full period, and the full period has a scaling factor which is 1.2, and the incomplete period is only 1 year when the period of compounding is 2 years, and in 1 year you get 10%, so it's a multiplication by 1.1, and so your final answer is 1.32p. And you want to look at it in terms of what is my scaling factor for a full period and what is my scaling factor for the last incomplete period if it exists. It doesn't have to exist. So if the question had said find the amount in 4 years, that's going to be 2 complete periods, and I would simply do P into 1.2 into 1.2 and I'll be done. Amount in 4 years. On the other hand, amount in 3 years, I have P into, in one full period plus 20%, in half a period plus 10%. And let's say you have amount in something like 9 years. I will say 2 years is one period, so you have 4 full periods, so you'll have to do P into 1.2 the whole raised to 4, and then I have one more year left, at which point that 1 year is gonna generate 10% of my final principal, so it gets multiplied by 1.1. And you want to think in terms of full periods and incomplete periods. You can forget about this formula if you understand how it is fundamentally working. And this is basically how we do questions where the periods are different.